Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, January 9th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
David Rivera, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Ali Posti, Bureau of Sanitation.
Kendrick Okuda, Bureau of Engineering.
Brett McReynolds, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we received a speaker card under General Public Comment. We also received speaker cards on items number 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, and 14, and we do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council section.
We'll close the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. On agenda item number 12, the Bureau has requested that we continue the item until when, Mr. Campos?
This Friday, January 13, 2017.
Okay, so agenda item number 12 will be continued until Friday, January 13th, 2017. Under general public comment, Dr. Tom Williams.
Good morning. Happy New Year. I'm back.
New Year.
Okay. Last year I was out because my wife retired. So we're both retired, kind of. So I'll be back now, 2017. One of the issues is thank you very much for the excellent mulching service provided on Mission Road. And a lot of people have used it. It's kind of wet right now, especially after last night, but it is a good service. It works, and a lot of people have used it. We're actually promoting mulching, and if we had a flyer as to where all the mulch locations were, we could distribute it on Saturday when we are going to have 5 or 6 loads of mulch coming from Parks and Rec for Huntington Drive. Very nice exhibition. And the Environmental Green Committee of the LA 32 Neighborhood Council is trying to promote more mulch. We gave away free trees and mulch a couple of weeks ago to try to get him in. So we're quite interested in the mulch aspects. One of the elements that we'll also be submitting is more potholes need to be filled. And interestingly, more intersections need ADA ramps at the intersections. One right across the street from LA County Medical Center. We found those because we were looking for potholes. So, in a more general sense, I would like to know what the sewer replacement cycle is for sewers. I've always been encouraging to DWP
2 minutes.
to replace their water pipes every 100 years. I would like to know what the replacement cycle is for sewers in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. No other cards on general public comment, so we will close general public comment. Agenda item number 1 from the Bureau of Engineering and Council District 14, task order solicitation number 27F, Tetra Tech Incorporated, recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue the task to Tetra Tech Incorporated from the pre-qualified on-call consultants list for the federally funded bridge and street projects to provide design and support services for the landscaping package as stated in task order solicitation number 27F, that's transmittal number 1, with a budget authority of $4 million, which includes contingency. Secondly, authorize a loan in the amount of $1,900,000 subject to a grant award letter from the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles Incorporated from the Public Works Trust Fund number 834 to front fund the design, construction, and programming of the future Leonard Hill Arts Plaza and to repay said loan of $1,900,000 from the grant proceeds when received in the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles on a cost reimbursement basis. And third, instruct the Board of Public Works Director of Accounting or her designee to A, establish an appropriation account entitled the Leonard Hill Arts Plaza within the Engineering Special Services Fund number 682, Department number 50, and transfer $1.9 million from the Public Works Trust Fund into the established account, and B, transfer payment from the established account to the Public Works Trust Fund number 834 once reimbursements are received from the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles Incorporated to repay the loan. John Koo. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year. John Koo, Project Manager with the Bureau of Engineering, 6th Street Viaduct Division. This request seeks City Engineer Authority to issue a $4 million design task order to Tetra Tech Incorporated for the 6th Street Landscape Design Package. In conjunction is a Public Works Trust Fund loan being requested to cash flow the Leonard Hill grant, as you mentioned, Commissioner James.
Yes, happy to help.
At the request of Commissioner Jacinto, I've passed out a sheet of graphics. This sheet of graphics is something we use over the weekend on a public outreach tour, if you will, to solicit design comments from the community. And it's a good way to see what the projects involved as far as landscape design is concerned. Basically, what's shaded in green is the canvas for the landscape design. Moving on, for the selection process, this task order followed the Bureau's federal pre-qualified on-call procured consultant list. There are 10 consulting firms on the list. 3 showed intent. 2 firms finally submitted. 2 were basically conflicted out, if you will, because they were the program manager and the construction manager on the 6th Street project. So in terms of Caltrans and federal process, that is something that would be deemed not appropriate. So the 2 finalists were Kimley Horn and Tetra Tech. Kimley Horn did a great presentation. However, Tetra Tech did rank higher, mainly due to the involvement of their teaming strategy of retaining prior architectural and landscape sub-consultant from prior work. So they had the continuity and the prior knowledge of the project. As for the DBE, their contract, this contract calls for 6% goal, and this Tetra Tech pledged 24% roughly. So they're in compliance. A limited NTP has been issued back in November.
Notice to proceed, NTP.
I'm sorry,
notice to
yes,
proceed.
yes.
Go ahead.
So the consultant has begun work on the public outreach component as well as the environmental impact report component of the project. The schedule for design is anticipated to be 18 months, starting now to June of next year. And the environmental component, which is a full-blown EIR, is scheduled very aggressively to complete by end of this year. A normal EIR, EIS would take 5 years on the average. But because of utilizing the prior EIR of the 6th Street Viaduct, they're able to gain efficiencies and accomplish a much faster schedule. Lastly, construction schedule is anticipated to be 18 to 21 months. It will stagger with the completion of the bridge. Basically, half of the schedule is overlapping with the tail end of the viaduct construction. The viaduct construction is scheduled to open to traffic on the bridge by September of 2020. That task order was approved by your board last Friday. So the landscape work would trail several months behind. And that's due to logistics in working in conjunction with the bridge contractor. This concludes my report. Thank you very much. Any questions, I'd be happy to
Thank you. Any
answer.
questions on agenda item number 1? Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Happy New Year, everybody. John, thanks for the report and for the visuals. I think it's important to show the scope. I mean, 13 acres on this, this iconic project, this very large public works project for our city has significant impact for not only the local residents, but, the entire city. So I just wanted to confirm that these are the design services, so it's probably the first phase of the design, of the community input, and that the implementation, the realization of all the different projects, we still have to find the funding, correct, for all the projects that are going to be implemented and built, John?
The reason why the landscape design has sort of been deferred to now, as opposed to being together with the viaduct design, is because we've been seeking out the funding sources, various funding sources. At this point in the report, we have accumulated through various grants, other sources, I think 5 or 6 different sources, a total of about $24 million. That is not to say that's the end, but we also want to proceed with the design based on this information so that we don't constantly chase ourselves with new funding. But I don't want to rule that out at the same time. It's certainly something that will come back to the board for additional briefing and approvals.
Okay. So we have a significant amount of resources committed and secured in order to move forward. I also think that the community engagement and the meetings and the public engagement and outreach meetings by Tetra Tech and the team are really important in terms of building recreational areas that are sustainable, that are accessible, and that are really community-driven too as well. So I appreciate that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Penning.
Hi, I just wanted to just mention that I think one of the really interesting things about this project is that it spans 2 very different. Hi. Come on up, Deborah. This is more your world anyway. Is that it spans 2 very different communities. So, you have the Arts District, which is rapidly changing, and then you have Boyle Heights, which is an old neighborhood. And I suspect that the needs for open space are somewhat different on both sides. You have more family, residential, in a neighborhood that's been environmentally impacted by exide and other sorts of environmental issues over the years, whereas the Arts District is probably a younger population. May not be as many kids there, I don't know. So just that, I'm hoping that with the design process, and I know you guys are working closely with the council office, that we're able to take into account the different needs of each neighborhood and make sure that we're truly serving those areas with what we're providing.
The point you make, we're very sensitive to, and actually in my presentation at the end of this meeting, I'm going to talk about this project as well. But there are different areas on both sides that we ought to be able to address both needs, but we need specific outreach to each community. Your point is well taken, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Davis?
Obviously, what Commissioner Penning has brought up is one of our values. Have we in any way included members from those various communities in what we do towards subcontracting to do some piece of the project? Is there any opportunity in which we could do that kind of thing, and particularly as it relates to the arts community and that kind of thing?
So there is an artist on the team who Cultural Affairs identified, but in addition, we assumed that the community would be asking us these questions, and we did 2 tours this weekend and have 4 community meetings scheduled for this week, so we're starting aggressively with outreach on both sides of the river. SSW, who's building the viaduct, has a subconsultant who has been doing outreach and helping folks who are looking for work, for actual construction work, and there are a couple who are currently working on the viaduct, but they don't. If someone comes to them from the community saying, I'm looking for work, and the viaduct isn't the appropriate project, they're actually helping people look for work in other construction jobs. So that effort we will continue. It's not 100% clear that SSW will build the landscaping. That will determine at a later point.
This is not the kind of project that would allow for public art in any way.
The artist is a public 1% for public art.
I see.
Yes, he is a gentleman who grew up in the Boyle Heights neighborhood, and I believe has a studio now in the Arts District side. He kind of bridges both communities in his background.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything further? Is there a motion on number 1 by Commissioner Jacinto, seconded by Commissioner Repenning and Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? Okay, we'll send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, requested tree removal from the Bureau of Street Services in Council District 1, 4554 San Andreas Avenue, recommending that the board first find that the project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 3, Category 1 of the City's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have a significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. 2, find that none of the exceptions to the use of the categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA, that's California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, apply. 3, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 4, approve the request for a fee tree removal permit for 3 Southern California black walnut trees due to the planned construction of a single-family residence. The trees are within the proposed footprint of the new residence. Dr. Williams on agenda item number 2 before we go to Mr. Lorenz. Dr. Williams on number 2.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, Citizens Coalition for Safe Communities, Sierra Club, et cetera, et cetera. Trees. Last Thursday, CFAC was to hold a meeting regarding trees. One committee member arrived punctually. 10 public attended, and it was called because there wasn't a quorum. 10 people came downtown Thursday afternoon to discuss trees, but they didn't really even know about the Board of Public Works. They knew CFAC, kind of, but what I'm proposing is that for all tree removals, private and public, the contracts for the public removal and trimming be notified to the neighborhood councils in which those contracts of the city will be done. Because nobody knew when they were coming, so the trees were posted, boom, and then they were trimmed badly, apparently, in some areas. So I'd highly recommend that for all private tree removals and for the public contracts for trimming and tree removal, go through the neighborhood councils, because you guys get the first whack at the apple, but you need to notify the neighborhood councils for their participation. They were there. 10 people came downtown LA. Thank God it was a quiet day on the commute. So everybody came. We discussed things for over an hour, because there wasn't any committee meeting. But it is an opportunity
2 minutes.
to help.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Lorenz on number 2.
Yes, 2, 4, and 5.
Right.
Same would apply for this particular
okay.
comment.
I got you. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Saves time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lorenzen.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Executives, Mr. Campos and Mr. Jordan. Ron Lorenzen, Bureau of Street Services, and Happy New Year, everybody. It's been a while since I've been here.
Welcome back, sir.
As the president has indicated, the property at 4545 San Andreas is proposed for development. The developer, David Freeland, applied to the Bureau of Street Services for a protected tree removal permit due to the development that will occur on that property. The development is an approximately 2,300 square foot home with a 1,900 square foot footprint that will be located on a 8,400 square foot parcel. The parcel is relatively steep on both the west and the east side, and I'm not sure if it's going up or down. I don't remember exactly which side had which, but it's a fairly uneven and various topography lot. As required by the Department of Public Works and the board and the Bureau, the property owner was instructed to obtain a protected tree report, which they did. The arborist determined there are 7 Southern California black walnuts on the property. 3 of those black walnuts are going to be directly impacted by the development of the property and the building of the house itself. Those 3 trees are fairly juvenile Southern California black walnuts, 5 to 8 inches in diameter by approximately 10 feet in height. They are not in the greatest condition like most Southern California black walnut trees. The drought has significantly impacted them, and they are not in the greatest state of health at this point. This property is categorically exempt under the provision for one single family home being built on the property. As President James has indicated, we are making it categorically exempt for that reason. The property owner, after removing the trees, if granted here, will be planting 12 5-gallon black walnuts on the property, as well as 4 24-inch box California live oaks on the property. Those trees will be bonded for a period of 3 years, so they will receive water, and at the end of that period, if they're not alive, they will be replaced at that time. The property owner will not receive the permit until the bond is in place, and we will then issue the permit. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions on number 2? Any questions on number 2 this morning? And Ron, just again for the record, the categorical exemption is based on?
The development of one home on a property.
Okay.
It's actually less than 3. Less than 3 individual homes on a property. I'm sorry. 1 home on a property and 3 homes collectively on different parcels is categorically exempt.
Any questions on number 2? I don't have a question. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We will send number 2 forthwith. Agenda item number 3. In Council District 5, requested tree removal. Address is 2401 North Briarcrest Road. Recommending that the board first find that the project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 3, Category 1 of the city's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have a significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. 2, find that none of the exceptions to the use of the categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply. 3, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is the custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 4, approve the request for a fee tree removal permit for 5 western sycamore trees due to new home construction. Mr. Lorenzen on number 3. Dr. Williams, do you waive number 3? Have you spoken on number 3? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Lorenzen.
Good morning again. Ron Lorenzen, Bureau of Street Services. As President James has indicated, the property at 241 Briarcrest Road is in the process of being developed. Gavin Pallone is the applicant for this property, and I'm not quite sure if he's the property owner or the developer of this property. It is a 7,300 square foot lot. I apologize, excuse me. It is the proposed construction of a 7,300 square foot single family residence on a 58,000 square foot parcel. Again, this is a parcel of varying topography. Only small amounts of the property can actually be developed without grading the entire property. The house is proposed to be developed on that relatively flat part of this property. Nature is funny, and that's where a lot of these protected trees are located. There are 9 protected trees on this property, 3 coast live oak, and 6 western or California sycamore, as was indicated earlier. 5 of those sycamores excuse me, are either adjacent to or within the footprint of the proposed development. They are in fair health and average 15 inches in diameter by approximately 45 feet in height. They were investigated by an expert, and then we went out there and validated that tree report. We agree with the assessment by that tree expert that these trees require removal. The replacement will be 20 24-inch box California sycamores on site. They will be bonded for 3 years, and the permit, if approved here today, will not be issued until that bond is in place. Again, this is the same exemption as the previous one. It's a single-family home, one single-family home being built on this property, and therefore it's categorically exempt. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
And we're still on the 4-to-1 ratio because of the protected trees.
Correct.
Commissioner Repenning.
How old do you think these trees are, Ron?
Pardon me?
What do you think is the age of these trees?
At that size, I didn't see the trees personally, probably in the neighborhood of 50 years, somewhere around that.
And the other protected trees on site were able to be
Those will remain in place, protected on the property in place during construction.
Okay, well, I know that we're doing the ratio. They are beautiful trees.
Yes, they are. There'll be 20 beautiful trees in about 10 years, replacing those trees.
All right, thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Davis.
You mentioned that of the 6 sycamore trees, 5 of them were in the area of construction. What about the diagnosis of the 6th tree that you did not talk about? Is it not necessarily in that area? Or
The 6th sycamore and the 3 coast live oaks are in fair to good condition and will not be impacted by the construction.
Oh, I see. They will not be impacted.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on number 3? I don't have any questions on number 3. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3. Is there a second on number 3? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We can send number 3 forthwith. Moving to agenda item number 4, Council District 4, tree removal for 3935 Hopevale Drive. Recommending that the board first consider the adopted final initial study, mitigated negative declaration, environmental case ENV 2014-3285-MND, that was transmittal number 9, for a haul route to export 1,680 cubic yards of dirt from the site for the construction of a 2-story single-family dwelling on an approximately 18,000 square foot vacant site, and the addendum to the final IS MND, transmittal number 10 at 3935 Hopevale Drive, prior to making a decision on the proposed protected tree removal permit. Secondly, find that under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that none of the conditions described in the Guidelines, Section 15162, requiring preparation of a subsequent CEQA document exist. 3, adopt the mitigation monitoring program, that was transmittal number 12, and specify that the Urban Forestry Division at the Bureau of Street Services, located at 1149 South Broadway, is the custodian of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the Board of Public Works decision is based. Number 5, consider that 3 California black walnut trees were removed before the board hearing for the tree removal request, and therefore would require a replacement with a total of 28 trees, 4 48-inch box-sized coast live oak trees, and 24 15-gallon Southern California black walnut trees on site. And 6, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 7 California black walnut trees for road paving, curb and gutter, caissons, and retaining wall for new construction of a single-family residence. Dr. Williams, you had a card on number 4. Anything on number 4? Okay, we have another card on number 4, but Mr. Lorenzen, I want to hear what you have to say regarding the setup of number 4. Summarize what happened here, because we had a circumstance where the applicant or the applicant's agent went in and removed the trees before they had a permit. They removed them without a permit.
Correct.
And this case has had some life. Doesn't it go back to 2014?
April of 14, yes.
Okay, so we're up on 3 years for this case.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Well, as you have indicated, the property at 3935 Hopeville is in the development process of building a single-family home on that property, about an 18,000 square foot property. I'm not exactly sure when they put their application into the Department of Building and Safety or anybody else that they might have applied, but Alex Schwartzman is a developer, had conditions relative to the proposed haul route that required the installation of a new road that doesn't exist to the property. Without coming to us and without informing the Bureau of Engineering and the Department of Building and Safety, they took their plans that they had that required the removal of those 3 trees because the road was on top of those 3 trees, and removed those 3 trees. It was at that time, in April of 2014, that the Bureau of Street Services became aware of this, and we went out to the site at that time and told them to halt the development of the property. I don't have all of the history in between then and now, but I know what we're talking about now. At that time, we requested that they get a tree report from a tree expert, which they did. Lisa Smith was the tree expert, is a person who provides many reports to this board. Went out and determined that there had been these 3 trees removed. The stumps were still there, as well as 4 additional California black walnuts on the site. They were not really large trees, and they weren't in the best condition. They were approximately 3 to 12 inches in diameter by 15 to 20 feet in height. And she proposed that the 3 that had been removed were roughly the same size by the stump size. The Bureau of Street Services has been in consultation with the developer for a long time about this. They were required to go through all of the steps that they normally would be required to get the permit to remove the trees. It was determined by the Bureau and by everybody else involved that indeed that the trees that they had removed, as well as the 4 additional trees, which had to be removed to actually build the property, build the house on the property, would require removal if the Board of Public Works did the process beforehand. So there was nothing except for the fact that the property owner had acted without proper permitting that changed anything that would happen in this boardroom. The recommendation by the Department of Public Works would have been that they be allowed to remove these trees. And that's why they're being asked to replace the 4 15-gallon black walnut, which is a fairly good-sized black walnut, hard to find those. 24 black walnut, as well as 4 48-inch box coast live oaks on the property. That's the mitigation. As we've also indicated, we are asking that you, again, approve the haul route mitigated negative declaration as part of this project. They will be required to bond this project for 3 years, as well as an additional 2-year watering requirement on the property. So as far as the Bureau is concerned, with the 4 48-inch box coast live oak trees being planted, that is sufficient extra size penalty for what they did, that is sufficient for this property as it would have been approved as proposed anyhow. But the property owner has gone through a long time, so their penalty has in some cases been having to wait to develop the property. But we are actually asking for approval of these permits as stated, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Before questions for you, we have Allison Feltus, who may want to speak as well, and she may raise additional issues. So, Ms. Feltus?
Are you in support or objection?
Objection. Definitely.
And do we have any representatives of the applicants in the audience? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Allison Feltis. I reside at 3901 Pacheco Drive, Sherman Oaks. I also own a lot at 3926 Hopevale Drive, which is directly across the road from the proposed development. I'm coming here today to request, rather insist, that this hearing and its ruling be postponed and continue to a future date so that the law may be followed on the matter. On April 16, 2014, Mr. Alex Schwartman and his workers trespassed on my property at 3926 Hopevale Drive and illegally cut down 4 California black walnut trees. The trees are specifically, obviously, protected under the Protective Tree Ordinance and require permits prior to cutting down any trees. Mr. Schwartzman, after we warned him of trespassing, returned several times that week, wreaking havoc and vandalizing neighboring property, even attempting to return with a giant land drill and bulldozer, presumably to further damage and grate the hillside on my property. He had no permits to perform any work at all. Construction, grading, cutting trees, nothing, okay? The neighbors now, we all feel personally threatened by Mr. Schwartzman. Our calls to the Department of Public Works and city departments were ignored. We're aware of the protective tree ordinance and specifically 46.06, which clearly outlines a procedure for the withholding and revocation of building permits for the illegal removal of protected trees. It outlines a specific hearing to be conducted to review and enforce this statute. The public work officials made many attempts to ignore this law. The matter was escalated to the city attorney's office. Deputy City Attorney David Michelson assured me on numerous occasions that the law would be followed and a hearing would be conducted under 4606, and I would be contacted for such a hearing. It was reported that all activities would be halted on the Hopeville project until this
2 minutes.
46.06 hearing was held.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you have anything that you want to add? And you can have another minute if you have more information you want to add.
I have concerns about even potentially replacing the trees that were cut. I question the ownership of said trees, but the lots that are proposed for any development are geologically unstable. The adjoining lots are owned or have permanent easements by the Santa Monica Mountain
I'm more interested in just the specific tree issue that you brought to our...
Replacing the trees and the amount of trees is going to cause a landslide in the neighborhood. I've had this happen before where other developers have illegally cut down trees on my lot. And trying to replace the trees, no one would do it because the lots are geologically unstable, and replacing the trees in a huge storm would cause a huge landslide. There are geological publications that are already published about this area and numerous mudslides after heavy storms. It's been documented. I have photos of mudslides from 2011 where we had a slight storm and there was a mudslide that emanated from the proposed development site through my property onto Pacheco Drive. We were stuck for 5 days waiting for street services to get mud out so we could actually get out and function on a daily basis.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jordan, on the issue regarding the communications between the neighbors and the city attorney's office regarding a 4611 hearing, are you aware of any of that information? I know that we've, and Ms. Feltus, you can have a seat now. I've got some questions for Mr. Lorenzen, if you wouldn't mind.
Thanks.
We'll get her back up, but she's not going to go anywhere. Any information regarding a 4611 hearing, recognizing that we've had essentially 3 years now between the time of the proposed, what would have been an application to today, and Mr. Lorenzen's some familiarity with the project?
I have some familiarity with this matter and some of the background communications. It's within the board's discretion to conduct such hearings and to...
the hearings are conducted by the Bureau.
Yes, it's within the Bureau's discretion to initiate that process and within the board's discretion to grant or not grant the tree permit here. I would also point out that in any 4606 process, if there were to be a determination by the Bureau to revoke or withhold the issuance of building permits, it's from the date of when the trees are removed. So it has been nearly 3 years since the trees were removed.
Okay. Mr. Lorenzen? Regarding the requested, I said 4611, I guess it's 4606, section 46, whatever the subsection is, hearing, any request to the Bureau on holding a section 46 hearing that you recall?
Not that I recall, but the Bureau actually, as the city attorney has indicated, the Bureau makes that determination about whether or not to hold a section 4606 hearing.
Right.
And it was determined as, for the reasons I stated, and the fact that this property has been permitted to build. I mean, the both city planning and the Department of Building Safety have allowed this to occur. At that point, it is the Department of Public Works' responsibility to determine whether or not the removal of these trees or the permitting one up or down would preclude the development of the property reasonably. So those are the issues that really that the Bureau looks at is once we don't make the determination about the viability of the geotechnical issues, whether or not the lot can be built, whether or not all of that is proper and able. And once we are informed that in fact they can do that, then our determination to come to you and ask for approval is whether or not it precludes or doesn't preclude reasonable development. So since they can build the lot, not being able to take down the trees would preclude their ability to build on that lot. What we then have to decide is whether or not we think that what happened was to such extent that we should invoke Section 4606, which in essence we decided wasn't in the city's best interest.
Okay, Commissioner Payne? Commissioner Payne?
I have some questions about some of the things that the resident, the property owner adjacent commented on. Do we know whether the developer accessed other properties and illegally removed trees on
That
other properties?
we would, I don't know, and if in fact that had happened, that is a completely civil matter.
Was something like that reported?
To us?
Yes.
To the Bureau of Street Service? Not to my knowledge.
So,
Ms. Feltus, can we have you back up?
Okay, I heard what Ms. Phelps said. Go ahead.
We've got to do one at a time, so if everybody would just be patient. So, Ms. Feltus, was there did you file any claims with the city? Is that how you got into the arena of the city attorney's office?
No, I called the city attorney's office out of desperation because no one from Public Works would come out for at least a week, 9 days. So I've contacted Urban Forestry. I filed a complaint with them. I let Public Works know, and I also let the city attorney's office know. I was told that a hearing would be conducted and we could grieve our differences at that point. And I've been waiting for years for that hearing. I was told on various occasions, yes, Allison, everything
When did you file this complaint with the Department of Public Works?
the week after the event.
So
that was-
back in 2014?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have copies of that? Did you keep copies of that?
I have copies of the emails. There was no form that we were asked to fill out.
Okay. But you had the emails?
Yes, I do. And the inspector from Urban Forestry came out subsequent to the incident and inspected the trees. And I should say, not only were the 4 California black walnut trees cut, 2, I guess, pine trees, 100-foot pine trees, were cut on Dr. Gary Feltman's property. And these properties are across the street from the proposed development. I could see if it was on his lots. It wasn't.
So you have you still have the emails that you submitted?
Yes, I do. I don't have them with me.
Oh, right, I understand. So what, I know Commissioner Davis has some questions. What I would be inclined to do is to continue the item so we could get a look at the communications that were submitted, see who they were submitted to, and then get a sense of what we need to do in consultation with our city attorney's office and the Bureau as well.
I would appreciate that.
So, Commissioner Davis, do you have questions?
Yeah, I would support that at this point in time so we can get some clarification. But just for the record, there were allegedly trees removed on your property as well as another neighbor's property as well.
That's correct.
And you did contact Public Works?
Right when it happened, yes.
You contacted the Board of Public Works?
Yes, I did.
Who did you call?
Actually, I spoke to Seffi Wiles. They didn't respond immediately. I think she eventually came on site like the April 24th or 25th.
And then you heard from the city attorney's office?
I called the city attorney's office because Seffi Wiles, we told her about the protective tree ordinance in 4606, and she ignored it.
And you talked to one of the attorneys in the office?
City attorney's office?
Yes.
I talked to David Michelson.
And he told you?
Oh, he told me he had communicated with members of the Department of Public Works to flag this development. He also contacted the Department of Building and Safety to flag this development to make sure that no permits were issued until this matter was fully addressed. And he also told me, and I have that in an email as well, that he would contact me when the hearing was scheduled for 4606.
Have you been in contact with your neighbor whose trees also were removed?
Yes, he's a physician, and he was in surgery today till 3 o'clock, so he couldn't make it.
But
Yes.
obviously, he has equal concerns about what has
Absolutely. There was also another neighbor further down whose fence was vandalized when Mr. Schwartzman tried to bring up the giant land drill up the hill along with a bulldozer to try and start grading the hillside without permits.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Thank you, Ms. Feltus.
Thank you.
Mr. Lorenzen, what's your understanding as, are there permits issued for the, I mean, I know that she feels like there's not, but there either is or there's not. What, is your information different?
I actually used the wrong word. They have the ability to move forward with the building on this lot and obtain permits. If they already had a building permit, we wouldn't be standing here because the law precludes that,
Right.
that need. So, and we actually have the date. The date was April 22nd, 2014. That's when the Bureau of Street Services was notified of this, and we went out there.
And was notified, do you know by whom?
I believe it was by, I think you spoke to our staff in April? Okay, well, I think it was, what I remember, but I don't have the file in front of me, was that she was the one that we went out there, and that's why we went out there.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is put this over for weeks of holiday. Put this over until Wednesday, January 18th. Is that the right date?
Yes.
2017?
Yes.
So that we can get some clarity from the Bureau, get some clarity from the City Attorney's Office. Ms. Feltus, would you mind, before you leave, if you could just leave your email address with Mr. Campos, who's our executive officer sitting right here at the end of the table, so we can get a copy of the emails that you have, and so we can, get kind of piece this together as best we can with the record you have and compare it to what we have? Okay, thank you. So I would recommend that we continue this to January the 18th?
Correct.
2017? All right. Thank you, then that'll be the order. Thank you, Mr. Lorenzen. Yes, sir.
One more thing, in response to something that Dr. Williams said about notification of tree trimming and tree removal. There is no process right now for tree trimming, but in fact, every single street tree and protected tree removal in this city, the neighborhood council identified by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment is notified of those removals.
And the board report indicates that, so.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So going to agenda item number 5, authorization to enter into Office of Community Beautification, authorization to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for the continued operation of the tree planting program for energy efficiency, recommending that the board authorize the president of the Board of Public Works to sign a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with the LA Department of Water and Power, on behalf of the board for the continued funding and operation of the municipal tree planting efforts of the City Plants program in the amount of $4,850,000 for the period January 1, 2017 to December 31, 2018. It's 2 years, in order to achieve energy efficiencies through tree planting efforts. Dr. Williams on number 5.
Dr. Tom Williams, Sierra Club. Okay, this one. Look at the cost. I figured it out. That's roughly $8,000 a day for a 2-year contract. That's not bad. By the way, 1 week at that rate would be approximately the total annual budget for a neighborhood council. So does that give you an order of magnitude? What's to be done? I have not read the details yet. But the basic element is this appropriate? Can't we use 501c3s? Can't we use the neighborhood councils? We gave away 50 trees in 1 weekend, plus some mulch. So it would seem that the neighborhood councils could become more involved in this tree issue and provide a better public contact than DWP is widely known for. So I would highly recommend that you continue it and see how the neighborhood councils done upstairs could participate in this. Because, hey, make it half that. Make it $2+ million and provide $2+ million to the roughly 90 neighborhood councils for the specific operations of tree planting. And yeah, there should be a peak during the prime planting period, and we can use the mulch too. So we're quite interested in DWP gets almost $5 million for a 2-year planting of trees. Based upon their past record, I would not approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Roch on number 5.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. Just with a brief background. Since 2011, the Board of Public Works and Department of Water and Power have had existing memorandum of understandings whereby DWP provides funding for the City Plants program to conduct tree planting and tree distribution events across the city of Los Angeles. The previous MOU expired at the end of December 2016, and both the Board of Public Works and Department of Water and Power have expressed a desire to continue this partnership with a new MOU. Therefore, the board report is requesting authorization from the board to allow the President of the Board of Public Works to sign the proposed MOU on behalf of the board for the continued funding and operation of the municipal tree planting efforts of the City Plants program. The total amount agreed upon to be paid by DWP shall be $4,850,000 for the period of January 2017 through December of 2018, which would result in the planting of an estimated 40,000 trees and over 200 tree distribution events for the 2-year period. I do believe that Elizabeth Skurzat with the City Plants program has a presentation on the City Plants program and the DWP plantings. So, Elizabeth.
Good morning, commissioners, staff, ladies and gentlemen. So we talked a lot about removing trees this morning, and now we're going to talk about planting them. So Rachel over here is going to help me. My name is Elizabeth Skurzat. I am the director for the City Plants program. So essentially, the City Plants program is an initiative that was started by the City of Los Angeles to enhance and promote tree planting within the City of Los Angeles. We plant and give away approximately 15,000 trees a year. Our mission is to make sure that Los Angeles remains a green and beautiful city for our future generations, and that we continue to have higher canopy, particularly in neighborhoods that currently have a low canopy. So in 2008, the U.S. Forest Service did a canopy study of the city of Los Angeles, and we found that the canopy cover of Los Angeles is wildly uneven. For example, the highest canopy is 37%, and the lowest canopy is around 5%. Now, for those of you who have never heard anything about tree canopy, essentially picture looking at Google Maps, picture the satellite, and you're looking down at the ground. The tree canopy is the amount of land that's covered by trees and leaves. So basically, one of the things that we do is we try to make sure that we're working in neighborhoods to get trees into neighborhoods that have lower canopy ratios. And then the picture that you can see right now, that's basically the difference. That's what it looks like. The more verdant section is Hancock Park, and the less verdant section is Koreatown, which is, a mile or two away. So the way that the program works is that we work with DWP as well as LA's business and philanthropic communities to fund tree planting in Los Angeles. And then we work with 7 different nonprofit organizations around the city. So the main one is the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. We also work with the Los Angeles Beautification Team, Tree People, Koreatown Youth and Community Center, A Cleaner Greener East Los Angeles, Northeast Trees, and the Fuego Tech Fire Rangers. And they work with us to plant trees, but also to host adoption events and to deliver trees to people's homes. And then the city partners are DWP, the mayor's office, obviously the Board of Public Works, which includes sanitation. They're very good at getting outside grants, and Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, as well as Rec and Parks. So one of the reasons why DWP is involved is because trees shade buildings, which helps save energy because it cuts energy costs, it cuts air conditioning costs. So we're actually able to track that with a tool created originally by the U.S. Forest Service. And DWP, which is required as any utility is, to invest in energy efficiency programs, then takes those savings and reports them to the California Energy Commission. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Basically the way the program works, we have 3 branches to the program. The first is the residential tree program. So any resident of the city of Los Angeles can request up to 7 free shade trees to plant around their home, and we'll deliver it to them. Then we have street trees. Any business or resident can request a free tree to be planted in their parkway, and we will go and plant it in front of their parkway. And then we have adoption events and tree planting events. So for the adoption events, we host 100 of them a year. So essentially, that's one every 3 days or several a weekend. And people come and take the trees home to plant in their yards, and we work with neighborhood councils, with other neighborhood communities, groups, to make sure that the trees are well received. And then we have the planting events. So over the past 2 years, we had 10 large planting events with volunteers, and had a great time. So for the 2015-2016 MOU cycle, we planted and gave away 32,000 trees. We had 200 adoption events, again, one every 3 days. So give it up for Elizabeth Howergy over there, who schedules them all. She's a very busy lady. And then the 10 volunteer planting events. We also, working within the partnership, working within having the different nonprofits, we were able to have DWP promise a certain amount of that money as match for those nonprofits and for city bureaus, basically Bureau of Sanitation, to go out and apply for grants from CAL FIRE and from other state organizations. And just from CAL FIRE alone, we won a combined total of $3.3 million to plant trees in the city of Los Angeles. And to give you an idea of how much that is, that's 20% of the entire fund that was available. So the city of LA got 20% of what was available to the whole state. That's a huge accomplishment. And basically what we did with that, at least as far as the Bureau of Sanitation goes, is we have greened 6 miles of the Vermont corridor. So this spring, and this is a picture from the Arbor Day that we had with Mayor Garcetti, we went from the 10 freeway down to the 105 freeway and greened 6 miles of the Vermont corridor. And then we're continuing to plant in the areas around the Vermont corridor. So the new MOU is going to give us 42,000 trees. That would be over 34,000 delivered and distributed, over 8,000 planted, and we're going to continue the partnerships and continue to apply for those outside grants through the partnership itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to thank you for the work that you do in general, but in particular the work that you've done on Vermont and South LA. As we know, it's an area that is tree poor often in certain spots, and I think the Vermont corridor is a fine example of how your agency can make a difference in terms of bringing trees to our community. So we greatly appreciate your service. It really helps in many ways to improve the quality of life for the residents and the businesses and the schools in our area. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Penning.
I also just want to compliment you, Liz. You and your staff really do great work. And, you know, I think your work with the funding that DWP provides, for which we're very grateful, and we're cautiously optimistic that they will see fit to provide that funding again. I know for them it's strategic funding because the trees that are planted around people's homes really do help reduce energy consumption. But for us to have you guys be able to implement that funding in the way that you do, really connected to the community, is great. I'm very also appreciative of your partnership with the Bureau of Sanitation, which takes the lead on writing and managing the grants that we're getting from the state, in partnership with you, going out to the community and really connecting that to the community. I think it's one of the things that we're doing that works really well. So congratulations, and knock on wood for another round of funding from our partners at the Department of Water and Power.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Thank you for the report. Paul, thank you for giving City Plants a home, for your lean staff, Elizabeth, Rachel, for all the great work that you do with the events and just servicing the whole entire city. You know, City Plants fits squarely within the mayor's back to basics agenda about a livable, sustainable city. So it's right in the target. And we should keep this going. I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion on agenda item number 5. Sorry, you have a question. Commissioner Rivas.
Yes, sorry. No, like my fellow commissioners, I just want to commend you on the work that you're doing. This is very impressive, and I think it's a very important initiative. I had one question. Like you mentioned the example of the Vermont corridor. For 2017 and 2018, have you identified any other areas in the city that you would like to target similar to that area?
Yeah, so we have our partners go out and figure out where they want to go, where they want to apply for those funds. So Melinda Bartlett from Sanitation originally identified the Vermont corridor. She's been an incredible asset to the team, and that was Sanitation's pick. So, you know, I know that people are looking at corridors in the North Valley. I know that they're looking at corridors in South LA, and they're also looking at Koreatown. But I couldn't name the specific corridor.
Okay, so then your partners help you identify those for the years.
Because they're working in the streets every day, so they know what needs to be done and what's possible to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Is there a motion on number 5? By Commissioner Penning and Commissioner Jacinto, seconded by Commissioner Davis, that we adopt agenda item number 5. Any objection? With that objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
quick request, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. On item number 5, it's an MOU between a proprietary department and a city department. It requires the mayor's approval, so I'd like to request that this board consider it to be subject to the mayor's approval pursuant to Executive Directive number 5.
ED number 5 or ED number 3?
ED number 3, sorry,
Okay.
ED number 3.
So, yeah, and you had told me that. Sorry, Fernando. So the motion would be subject to mayoral approval pursuant to Executive Directive number 3.
That is correct.
Okay. So again, so same motion, same second. Any objection? With that objection, we will do so as amended.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Agenda item number 6, Council District 4, request to execute a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps to provide funding for supplemental community beautification services in Council District 4, recommending that the board authorize OCB to execute a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps in the amount of $100,000 to provide funding for supplemental community beautification services in that council district during fiscal year 16-17. Mr. Roch.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. The Office of Councilmember Rue has previously provided funding for the Los Angeles Conservation Corps to provide supplemental services in Council District 4 during the first 6 months of current fiscal year, 2016-17. These services have included weed abatement, litter cleanup, bulky item pickup, alley cleanup, tree planting, tree maintenance, and other various community beautification services as needed. The LA Conservation Corps, to provide these services, hires youth from the district to provide these services in Council District 4. The Office of Councilman Rue is now providing funding to continue these services for the second half of the current fiscal year, January to June of 2017. Via council motion approved in December of 2016, the funds have been transferred into the Board of Public Works Contractual Services account, and OCB now is requesting board authorization to execute an amendment with Los Angeles Conservation Corps to a current contract to provide these funds and continue these services through June of 2017.
Thank you, Mr. Roch. Any questions? I'll make a motion that we do that so you can get busy. Commissioners Rivas and Repenning, any objection? With that objection, we will do so. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to continue agenda item number 7 in the interest of time to Friday, January 13th. Is that okay, Mr. Campos?
That's perfect.
Okay, then we'll continue number 7 to Friday, January 13th. Agenda item number 8, Bureaus of Contract Administration and Engineering in Council District 14, construction order acceptance, 2nd Street emergency tunnel repair on the east end, requesting that we accept the construction order. Mr. Smith, and we have these on 3 of them, 8, 9, and 10. Number 8 is 2nd Street emergency tunnel. Number 9 is Vermont Canyon tunnel emergency repair, and number 10, Pacific View Drive bulkhead repair. Mr. Smith?
I have 11.
And number 11 on Barstow Street.
You want me to do them all at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with number 8, 2nd Street emergency tunnel repair. This was awarded June 9, 2016, completed July 28, 2016. This involved removing some tiles that were falling from the 2nd Street tunnel soffit. There are no unresolved property or owner or financial issues, and the Bureau recommends acceptance.
Questions on agenda items 8 through 11? Did you do all 4 of them just now? You just did number 8,
Just one.
right?
Oh, you want me to go through the whole thing and then you'll?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 9, Vermont Canyon Tunnel Emergency Repair, awarded June 29, 2016, completed August 2nd, 2016. This was involving some concrete repair in the tunnel up by Griffith Park. And there are no unresolved property or financial issues on this. Bureau recommends acceptance. Item 10, Pacific View Drive bulkhead repair, awarded January 29, 2015, completed June 26, 2015. This was some bulkhead repairs and some damaged street repaving. No unresolved property or financial issues there. Item number 11, Barstow Street retaining wall, awarded May 17, 2016, completed September 22, 2016. Again, a bulkhead repair involving some damaged sidewalk. No financial or property issues, unresolved issues there, and the Bureau recommends acceptance of these 4 contracts.
Any questions at all on any of those? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda items 8 through 11, seconded by Commissioner Cento. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda items 8 through 11.
Thank you.
Any issues sending it forthwith? We'll send them forthwith. Agenda item number 12 was continued. Agenda item number 13, authority for expenditure for PR Landscape Incorporated, Office of Accounting and Bureau of Street Services, requesting board approval and execution of an AFE to encumber funds in the amount of $26,214.36 to pay for month-to-month services under contract C111599. The AFE will authorize funds to pay for sidewalk maintenance district services provided for the Wilshire Miracle Mile Sidewalk Maintenance District from January 1, 2017 through March 31, 2017. Mario Anteriano. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Mario Anteriano with the Bureau of Street Services. Again, this morning we're asking or requesting that the board approve our request for authority for expenditure in the aforesaid amount. This would allow us to continue to provide the maintenance services for the Wilshire Miracle Mile Assessment District through March 31st, 2017. This would give us additional time to establish our new release of request for proposals so that we can continue and contract these services here going forward.
Any questions at all? Do you have any questions on this item? Is there a motion on agenda item number 13 by Commissioner Repenning? I'll second it along with Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 13. Any issues sending it forthwith? We'll send number 13 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 14, an Arbor Day resolution recommending that the board adopt the accompanying resolution to recognize April 28th as Arbor Day and the city's honor as Tree City USA, and continue to promote tree planting and maintenance, which enhances the quality of life in our communities. Dr. Williams, anything to add on Arbor Day?
Dr. Tom Williams, Sierra Club. It's also the week before Earth Day, so it seems quite appropriate. So we will probably in Neighborhood Council LA 32 and as part of the central group of the Angeles chapter of the Sierra Club, probably have a tree distribution time either the weekend after yours or on Earth Day. So that's all. Great. One of the questions I've had, though, is Tree City. Okay, what represents Tree City? Because one of the things I have as a background, and you were talking about how many trees, I hope they weren't palm trees. Because when a palm tree reaches, say, 20 years, that is 20 feet up or more, it becomes useless as far as energy efficiency and shade and becomes a real liability. Nobody will park their car under an old palm tree. But I've been told that it costs probably now $1,000 to cut one down. When are we going to start replacing all of the greater than 50-foot high palm trees in our tree city and put real trees back in there to provide shade and protection from some of the elements? So, Tree City, where is it listed? Is there a link? I hope so. But real issue is, let's get rid of the palms and get a real tree city rather than a palm city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 14 with our Arbor Day resolution for April 28th, 2017 by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Rivas? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 14 forthwith. We have agenda item number 15, which is an oral report continued from December 19th, 2016 to today, our semi-annual oral report on the status of construction of public buildings and open space program for Deborah Weintraub.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll make this quick since I know I'm the last thing between you and your desks. So I'm going to talk about a couple of projects. If you go to the next slide. The first project is just to inform you that the Pershing Square project, which was a design competition instituted by Pershing Square Renew, with agreement with Pershing Square Renew and the Department of Recreation and Parks, it's going to be managed by the Bureau of Engineering. We started our initial conversations with the winner, the design team, which is a firm from France, Argentaire. The first part of the first step in the process will be a schematic design to look at the feasibility of what the competition proposed. The next thing, just to give you an update, I've been here before and talked about the Valley Bikeway and Greenway design project. We're making very good progress on this. We've had some community meetings. We expect to be done with our feasibility study with a proposed alignment, and we will have looked at all the utilities on that route in spring of this year. Next, briefly, the Studio City Recreation Center, a new gymnasium, which we are pursuing net zero on. We've had some very positive results from our initial energy modeling. It turns out gymnasiums are very good candidates for net zero because they have big roof areas, and with smart design, taking advantage of natural ventilation and night venting, we believe that we can achieve not only LEED Platinum, but also Living Building Challenge Zero Energy Pedal Certification rating. This will be our first net zero. Our second is a gymnasium we're just starting design on in Boyle Heights. So I'm excited by the potential for net zero on gyms as we move forward. The next one, that was the gymnasium. Go to the next one. I know you've had various reports on the asphalt plant. We're in construction on the asphalt plant. We will be coming back to the board shortly with about a $700,000 change to the layout recommended by the design build team that our client, the Bureau of Street Services, feel will really make the site function better over the long haul. So we're excited that project is moving forward, and we have design plans into building and safety for the building that's on the site.
Deborah, do you know when you may be coming with that $700,000 change package?
I believe it will be within weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, Albion Dairy Park, we received bids on this. We need to identify some additional Prop O funds to award this. We hope to be back to the board to award this within the next month. So we're excited to be able to get this project into construction. And it's a Prop O project underneath the grade, and on top is a very big new park expansion for recreation and parks. So it's also an exciting project. Next, that's the underground Prop O installation, which is stormwater capture system on the site. The next is our Gaffey Street pool and bathhouse, which was an old pool that we're restoring and a new bathhouse that we're constructing adjacent to it. We hope to open this by early summer this year. We're at about 80% complete construction. It's a fabulous site if you've never been down there. So I just wanted to show you some recent construction photos. The next slide is the photovoltaic installation on the convention center. We have received bids. We are analyzing the bids we received. Just to point out, I know Alan Kawaguchi has been here to talk about this. It's approximately 7.9 acres of photovoltaic panels on the roof of the building, so it's a pretty significant installation. And then next, you heard earlier about the 6th Street Viaduct. I'm personally very involved with this project. We've initiated community meetings and community outreach this week. I know Commissioner Jacinto has already given us some input on making sure that we're touching all the communities. We had Pico Gardens representatives tour with us in hard hats and vests Saturday morning in the drizzle, and they were very excited to be on site and talking about uses that they'd like to see in the area that's near their homes, because the park is really blocks away from Pico Gardens. So that was exciting to have them there and to hear from them. And then lastly, the Riverside Fig Bridge. We are opening the roundabout, rain permitting, this Friday, the 13th. And then the bridge itself will open, the grand opening will be, the whole bridge will be open on the 30th of January. So we're very excited to be completing that project. So that's my quick summary. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Thank you, Deborah. We appreciate it. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
All right, then we are adjourned. Thank you.